Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a super exciting video. Here with me today I have my best friend Kylie, and I am going to do a Kylie Jenner inspired glam on her. So I'm going to jump straight into the video. I look like trash. So we are about to do a complete transformation. So if you want to see me transform my best friend into Kylie Jenner, then keep on watching. So we're starting off with her beautiful, clean, fresh face today, and I'm going in with the brows first, and I always like to take a clean, disposable mascara wand just to brush the brows through before I go in with any product. I'm taking my NYX Micro Brow Pencil in Espresso, and what I'm doing with this product is I'm creating shape. So I am going to create depth with a different product, but right now, as you guys can see, I'm just creating the shape that I want for my brows, so then when I go in and create depth, I know where to put it. And for that today, I'm using my Chi Chi brow pomades in soft brown and a little bit of medium brown on my Zoeva wing liner brush. And I'm just going to create some depth and some darkness. And when I get through the front of the brow, I just like to soften the pressure of my brush so the placement of the product isn't too harsh. And I just also like to mimic soft brow hairs through the front of the brows. Then to carve out my brows, I'm taking my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer on this flat concealer brush by Napoleon Perdis and dragging that all the way down on the lid as a base, always softening it out with my finger, and then taking a fluffy brush and setting that down with some loose powder. And now I have an eye base that is all ready and prepped for eyeshadow. I love the power of a brow. And so now for her brow bone highlight, which I always like to start off with, I'm taking MAC Vanilla Pigment, activated with a little bit of rosewater spray, and placing that underneath the brow and softening it with a fluffy brush. On that same fluffy brush, I'm taking Orange Soda and Birkin by Anastasia Beverly Hills and buffing that softly through the outer corner and through the socket. And to slightly deepen that, I'm taking Burnt Orange Matte and Caramel by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And when I place down eyeshadow, I always like to create tension on the skin by pulling the brow bone softly, and that just means you'll get such a flawless application in your eyeshadow. Now I'm laying down Fawn by Anastasia Beverly Hills on my MAC 217 just through the outer corner and a little bit through the lash line, and this is just going to start to create some depth and darkness. And then over the top of that, I'm going in with Mocha by Geek. Now on my mobile lid, where I haven't placed any shadow yet, I'm taking my same concealer brush I did to carve out the brows, placing a tiny bit on the lid, and buffing that out with my finger, and this is going to create a base for my shadow to cling to. And for that today, I'm taking this gorgeous soft pink shade from my Morphe 350 palette, and on a flat brush I'm creating tension on the brow by lifting that up and then dragging the shadow on the lid right down. It's a really great way to get maximum pigment out of your sparkly eyeshadows. So you guys see, by lifting the brow and really sliding that shadow down onto the lid, you will get the best payoff possible from your sparkly eyeshadows. Now with whatever's left on my blending brush, I'm just going to drag that brush over where the two eyeshadows meet, and it's a really great way of diffusing those eyeshadows together to get a seamless blend. And then at the end, I just always like to go back in and reinforce my brow bone highlight. Moving on to wing liner, I'm using gel eyeliner today, and I always like to start at the base of the lash line. Now this line doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a base, and then I like to go in with my wing and I just extend the waterline, and then I bring that line back in on itself to meet the first line that we created, and then it's just all about neatening up that line and adding any thickness if you want to. Now I wanted to add just a tiny little bit of darkness through the outer corner, so on my MAC 217 I'm taking Mocha by Geek just through the outer corner, buffing that out with my fluffy brush, and then on an angled brush I took Corrupt by Geek, which is just a black eyeshadow, and same principle through the outer corner and then softening that with a fluffy brush. A really great way to add a little bit of depth. Now moving on to skin, I always like to prep the skin with Mario Badescu Rosewater Spray, and then for primer today I went in with my 3Ina Matte and Smooth Primer, and I buffed that all over the skin with my foundation brush. And for foundation today, I'm going to be mixing two of my favourites, and I like to start off by carving the brow. This is the same brush that I use to carve out the underneath of my brow with concealer. And a great tip for this is I always get my clients to make sure that they relax their face so they're not raising their brows at all. It'll just make your job so much easier, I promise. So I always like to start off by carving out the brows first, and then I'm going in and buffing this foundation all over the skin. And I always like to take the foundation right down the neck, over the chest, and the ears too. Now moving straight onto cream contour while my foundation is still quite wet, I like to lay this around the perimeter of her forehead, her temples, through the back of her cheekbone, through her jaw, and then I drag it down the neck a little bit, and then I also take it around her nose, so down the sides of her nose and down the tip, and of course it would not be a Kylie Jenner tutorial if we didn't contour the lips. Now to buff out my cream contour, I just like to take my foundation brush and I just like to buff over that line until I get a seamless blend. Now for my nose contour, I always like to start out with using my fingers. Now always ask your client if it's okay. As you can see, Kylie and I were giggling because it does feel a little bit funny, but I do always like to go in with my fingers first and then soften it with my foundation brush. And then you can always go back in and add a little bit more contour if you need to. And I use the exact same principle to buff out my lip contour, so softening it with my fingers and then buffing it out with my brush if I need to. This was the very first time that Kylie had ever contoured her lips and she was obsessed. Now time to blend out my concealer. As you can see, I like to take my foundation brush, buff it over the back of my hand, and this picks up any leftover foundation that I have on my hand. This is a really great way to ensure that your concealer will seamlessly blend into your foundation, and I just like to take my brush just around the edges where the concealer meets the foundation to really ensure that everything blends together seamlessly. And going in with my Coty Air Spun Loose Powder. Now to set the underneath of the eyes, I always first like to buff out any creases with my finger, and then taking my Napoleon Perdis 16B brush, I pick up some of the powder and just softly press that underneath the eye. And then just softly setting the rest of the face using a big fluffy powder brush, and also don't forget to get the neck as well. Anywhere we put a liquid product, we always want to set that down with powder. And now to bronze the skin, taking my MAC NW45 Studio Fix powder, I'm laying this over the top of the areas where we cream contoured, so throughout the temples, the top of the forehead, the cheeks, the nose, the jawline, and this is a really great way of just adding warmth to the skin. And then taking my Hoola by Benefit, I'm just laying this just through the back of the cheekbones to create some extra definition, and also through the jaw. Now taking my Betty Luminizer by the Balm, which is just a beautiful shimmery bronzer, just hitting this on the high points of the skin, just so the skin really looks like it's glowing from within. Then moving on to highlighter, I'm first taking my Mary Luminizer by the Balm and just going to highlight her cheekbones and also the high points of the face. And then my trick is, with no matter what highlighter I use, I always like to top that with MAC Soft and Gentle. The way that MAC Soft and Gentle sits on the skin is just so beautiful, so I always like to top that. And then taking my Twinkle Pink e.l.f. blush, I'm just going to get Keely to smile, and I'm just going to hit this just softly on the apples of her cheeks. Then taking my Morphe 9B blush palette, taking this beautiful bright coral shade, and again just hitting that on the apples of her cheeks. And my trick is, once you've applied the blush, I always like to take my bronzer brush just to buff that through so it looks a little bit more natural. And to further highlight for the inner corner of my eyes, I'm taking my Napoleon Perdis Loose Dusts in Contrary, Canary and Ice Storm and just popping them just on the inner corner of her eyes, and then also a tiny little bit on the center of her lids. It's a really great way to really open up the eyes. And now I'm going to drag some soft browns underneath the eyes, and my tip for doing this on clients is instead of swiping it underneath the eye, just softly press it. It's a great way to avoid getting any fall down on the eyes, but it's also a really good tip if your client has sensitive eyes. So after I've placed that down, just going to softly blend it out with my 217, and then taking the same brush that I used to set the underneath of my eyes, just again buffing that out so you get a really seamless blend. Now, this is a technique that I know some of the Kardashian makeup artists do, and I'm obsessed with it. And I'm taking a black gel liner and just very, very finely lining my waterline. So we're not smoking it out through the lash line, nothing. All we're doing is just finely lining the waterline. And I actually think it can make the eyes look bigger. It's just such a beautiful technique. And so this is the look nearly done. I am obsessed with it so far. I'm just going to quickly hop off camera and stick some lashes on Kylie, and I'm going to make some lashes from scratch, so I want her to look really unique, and then we'll come back and we'll pop some lips on. Surprise! We're back! And Kylie was so amazing, and she let me spray her hair black just for this video. And for lips, of course, we're going in with Kylie Cosmetics. I went with the Kylie Lip Kit in Exposed. It's probably my all-time favorite. And I'm going to use the lip liner and the liquid lipstick today. Now, guys, I have been a makeup artist for over 8 years now, and the quality of the formula of her lip liners, and especially her liquid lipsticks, are next to none. I truly, truly think that they are incredible, and oh, they smell so, so good. So if you want to spoil yourself, absolutely, I think it's worth it. And so now in with the liquid lipstick. Now, Kylie owns all of these lipsticks, so of course, if it was a client, I would go in with disposable lip ones, but as Kylie owns this product, I'm just going in with the applicator, and I'm just going to pop this all over her lip. And gloss time! I am absolutely such a gloss girl, so I chose today So Cute, which is my favourite Kylie gloss, and again, this is Kylie's gloss, so I am going to be applying it just from the wand. And the formulation, guys, of these glosses, the pigment is next to none. They are such a beautiful gloss, as you guys can see here. So I'm just popping this just softly through the center of her lips, which again will always make the lips look bigger if you add lightness to the middle. So just softly adding that to the center of her lips, and as you guys will see, I'm just going to buff it out softly with my finger. Now I'm just maneuvering Kylie's hair, because if you've ever spray painted hair, you'll know that it gets so stiff and it can be so frustrating. And the last step I do on all of my clients is, of course, to highlight the collarbones. This just makes you look so glam, and especially in photos, it's just stunning. I love it. Okay guys, so I think my transformation is officially complete. How beautiful does my best friend look? She absolutely rocks this glam and this hair. I'm so thankful that she let me do this to her, guys. Obviously, I'm a makeup artist. My biggest passion is doing makeup on people. So if you guys ever want to see me transform one of my other best friends into a celebrity that you love, please let me know, and I would absolutely love to do it. She is just so beautiful. I absolutely love her. I really hope you guys liked this video. I had so much fun filming it. I would love if you guys liked the video and subscribed to my channel. Apologies for being in PJ pants in this video, but I really hope you guys liked it. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!
Close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And through the highways, and